A study done by Deloitte shows us that 77% of Americans have experienced the symptoms of burnout. And research done by Qualtrics in 2020 shows us that 79% of people over 26 countries felt that they are at or beyond workload capacity. But the important thing to understand here is when we're talking about burnout, at least in this context, at least in this video, we are not just talking about career burnout. We're talking about burnout that exists in your jobs, in your profession, but also within your relationships, your responsibilities, whether that is your family responsibilities, your social responsibilities, whatever you're doing. If it contributes to extending your capacity to the point where you are no longer able to function, you run the risk of burnout. And I see this a lot with highly ambitious, highly motivated individuals because they're setting the bar high for themselves. And if that's you, you need to take notice. Today, we're gonna go through a 4-step plan so that you can avoid burnout and keep going towards your goals. If you wanna know a little bit more about the ins and outs of what burnout is and how to spot the signs of burnout, check out this video here. We'll go through exactly that. But today, I wanna dive into this strategy right away. And the first R in our 4R strategy is about recognition. So this is about recognizing whether you're showing some of the signs of burnout. And the important thing here is to know that if you are showing some of the symptoms of burnout, it's not too late. You can reverse it. You can put on the brakes. You can turn it around and make an amazing pivot so that you are no longer heading for burnout and you can carry on the path of your biggest, wildest ambitions. But you have to make sure that you understand how to recognize those symptoms so that you can put those things in place. Today, I want to look at 3 symptoms specifically that are often missed. The first one is no longer finding joy in things that used to bring you happiness. Now, unfortunately, this can often be one of the symptoms that people don't spot. And sometimes it actually takes someone else who knows you really well to bring it up for you. When I work with my clients one-on-one and I ask them this question, are you still finding joy in the things that used to make you happy? Sometimes it takes a moment to actually even understand the fullness of that question. But really, we can recognize this if we think about how we're spending our days and where those pockets of happiness are existing. And if we recognize that we're doing things that used to fulfill us, or used to bring us joyfulness, or used to make us feel like ourselves, and there's something that's not quite there, something that's missing, that can be a good sign that you are potentially heading towards burnout. So that might be spending time with people you love that normally would make you feel completely fulfilled, but it's not quite hitting the mark. Or it might be a particular hobby that you normally love. It's kind of your go-to to get you out of a bad mood or just your way to relax and unwind. And again, it's just not really serving that purpose. But have a think right now, are there things that normally would make you happy and they're falling short of the mark? And you're finding yourself engaging in those activities and you're not feeling the happiness that you would normally. The next symptom that I want to look at here as part of our recognition, the first R in this strategy, is when you take time to relax and unwind, you realize that you've had a stressful week and you go, okay, you know what, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to take a day this week just to chill out. But you find it really difficult to switch off. This is a problem for a lot of people who are really ambitious, who are driven, who are motivated, who are going above and beyond, and actually is a very clear indicator that you could be heading towards burnout, and it's important to recognize. So if you think over the last few weeks, the last few months, when you've taken time off, understanding that you need a bit of downtime, and you haven't been able to stop checking your emails or switch off your phone, or even just the thoughts, you haven't been able to stop thinking about a problem at work or a problem with your colleagues or a problem in your relationships that you just wanted to pull away from, take a bit of time away from that particular issue and you haven't been able to, that may be an indicator here. And the reason I'm bringing it up in this recognition here, this recognition point of our 4 Rs, is because it is one of these ones that we can dismiss really easily. We think it's just kind of, oh, I'm just really busy right now, so of course I can't switch off. Well, actually, we need to call it out. We need to pay attention to this particular symptom. The final symptom here that we're going to look at in this category is difficulty regulating your mood. Now, this could go in either way. So this could be about finding yourself really irritable and you can't kind of pull yourself out of that irritability. This could be about being really high, feeling like absolutely on top of the moon and not being able to pull yourself onto other people's levels. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you're talking to someone who's struggling, who's going through some kind of challenge, and you just can't kind of access that empathy. That is a signal that you're not able to regulate your moods. But of course, the other side of regulating your moods is you go through periods of being really irritable or really anxious or plummeting into low, challenging emotions, and then maybe being straight back up to those higher emotions again. And you feel like you're a little bit out of control of what's going on in terms of your emotional landscape. That is definitely a symptom worth paying attention to, because that can be a sign that you're heading towards that physical or emotional exhaustion brought about by a prolonged period of stress and anxiety. Recognizing that these are symptoms and recognizing that you are encountering these symptoms is the first part of our strategy. And as I said already, that doesn't mean that you're plummeting into inevitable burnout. It just simply means that you need to go, okay, I need to move on to these other 3 Rs in this strategy in order to curve around this burnout and head back to a place of health. The next R in the strategy is about building resilience. Now, this is really important because if you have a pool of resilience from which to draw on, then it means when you hit the inevitable highs and lows of being an ambitious person, about going after your dreams, there's always going to be challenges, right? But you need to have enough resilience within you that you can coast through those challenges. You can pull out the tools you need to get through the tricky times in order to keep going. So challenges don't represent heading for burnout. Those are not consistent with each other. Challenges just mean you're pushing yourself and you need to rise to that difficult time and get beyond to the next point. So having resilience within you, which is all about being able to get through the challenging times, means that we are guarding ourselves against burnout because we just use those tools to get through the challenges and we're on to the next thing. So how do we build resilience? Well, there's 3 things again that I want to go through in this video specifically. Now, there's lots of tools for building resilience, and that's what I do with my one-on-one clients. We look at how to build a resilience so it's at maximum capacity all the time. But I want to go through just 3 really easy strategies that you can use for building your resilience. So the first one is celebrating your small wins. So that is at the end of each day, just noting what has gone well. We tend to dwell on things that maybe haven't gone so well or things that we didn't achieve that we wanted to. By recognizing at the end of each day what you did do well or what you managed to succeed in, even if they are very small, you're building that resilience within you. Building a confidence that you have been able to bring yourself to a situation and succeed in whatever small way that might be. Now, I always encourage people to celebrate their small wins by writing it down. Some people choose to do voice notes. Some people choose to celebrate their small wins by having a conversation with their significant other or a close friend. And that's a really viable way of doing it as well. It's whatever works best for you. But the important thing is that at the end of each day, you are taking time to notice, hey, I did this well today, regardless of what else happens. This is something I succeeded in. Another way to build up that resilience is to make a list of your strengths, your qualities, as a person, the things that you bring to the table. Now, these could be strengths like your motivation, your determination. They could be the strength of being empathetic or of being a good friend, being a good listener. They could be the strength of not giving up, whatever it might be, the qualities within you that you know have seen you through difficult times in the past, or that you recognize as being key components to getting you to where you are now. Having a list, a tangible written down list of those strengths is really important. And you can just write 5 down. You don't have to write hundreds and hundreds. Write down your 5 greatest strengths. That is a way of fueling your resilience. Another way of building your resilience is, of course, self-care. That means getting proper nutrition, proper sleep, proper hydration, proper exercise. All of those things are going to mean that you have a greater capacity to get through those challenging times. If you are running on empty in terms of just those basic needs, then it's much more likely that the challenges are going to derail you. Remember, the whole point of building your resilience within the context of this strategy is to make sure that you are protected against burnout. The third R of our 4R approach to avoiding burnout is rest. Now here, I'm not just talking about getting a good night's sleep. I'm talking about rest on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. Now, having trained as a professional athlete and working with athletes all the time, we see the importance of rest on a really fundamental level to our training. All athletes know that you cannot get stronger if you're not taking rest. So as a dancer, we did 6 days on, 1 day off. And doing a 7th day of training in this example doesn't make you stronger. It actually hinders your progress. The reason for this is that your body needs that recuperation time, partly to avoid injury, but also because it is through that rest that the muscles are able to build the strength that they've developed during those 6 days and actually maintain the progress. If you just keep pushing them and you never give them that rest, then they are not going to be able to protect you from injury, but also they're never going to get the kind of strength that you need in order to succeed within your pursuit. Now, this goes way beyond just physical exercise. We need to make sure that we're incorporating rest on a regular basis in order to just coast, in order to not plummet. And people who are driven, people who are highly ambitious, have big goals, they will tend to just keep going. I know I have colleagues who will say, oh, I'll sleep when I die, right? Like that's an accepted expression. And yet actually, if you're not resting in the here and now, then you're never going to have the strength you need to get where you need to go to play the long game. So when we talk about rest in the terms of this strategy, I'm talking about on a daily basis, making sure that you are having restful times. That's not your night sleep. That's carving out as little as half an hour of time where you can just go offline and be and exist in yourself, carving out that me time. That is the rest I'm talking about here. Now, whether that's journaling, whether that's doing some form of mindfulness or meditation, going for a walk, just existing on your own, that's the kind of rest we're talking about here. That rest is essential and it's got to be non-negotiable if you're going to avoid burnout. The final R in this strategy is re-evaluation. This is about checking in with yourself and understanding whether or not what you're doing with your life is still aligned to your core values and the things that matter most to you right now. Now, on this channel, I talk a lot about core values, and that is because it is absolutely essential to so many components of becoming your best self. The best way to reevaluate is to take some time, make a list of your current core values, so the things that matter most to you in your life and in society, and check out whether or not the goals you're actually pursuing are in correspondence with those core values. So for example, if one of your core values is family, but you are spending every single waking moment in pursuit of a career, that can lead to burnout. Now, I know that sometimes we have to make sacrifices and we have to put some things on the back burner in order to push forward on other things. However, you need to understand that if we spend too long misaligned from our core values in the pursuit of our goals, we can crash into burnout. So spending the time to reevaluate, to understand if what you're heading for, what you're working towards, what you're putting all of your energy into is still important to you in the way that it used to be and still part of the future that you want to create, that will allow you to navigate through potential burnouts and stay on the right side of it. So that is the relatively straightforward for our strategy. The reason I say relatively straightforward is there's nothing here that is difficult to actually put into practice. The difficulty may come into making sure that you do it. To recap here, our 4 R's are recognition, so recognizing whether you are experiencing symptoms of burnout in the first place. And knowing that if you are, it's not too late. Burnout is not inevitable. It just means you need to pursue the other 3 R's. The next one is resilience. So building that resilience. And we've talked through a couple of really straightforward strategies that you can start implementing right away in order to build that resilience within you so that you can get through those challenging times and they won't derail you. The third one is rest, incorporating rest. We're not talking about a good night's sleep. We're talking about rest in a more kind of tangible, concrete way on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. And finally, that reevaluation, really taking the time to look at whether what you're pursuing is aligned with your core values and the future you're trying to make for yourself. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I was going to let you know the one thing that you should not do if you want to avoid burnout, and that is very simply, don't push through. If you recognize that you are experiencing some of the symptoms of burnout, don't just put your head down and keep going. And I see this happen a lot, especially with highly ambitious people. They will just go, you know what, it's fine, I'll get there, I'll rest eventually, or I'll take the time out eventually, or I'll build up my resilience once I get through this goal, once I get to the other side of this. If you just push through, you will burn out, and you'll burn out big because you will have ignored the symptoms and you won't have put into practice the things that can actually help you move away from that burnout and get you to a place where you can still work hard, you can still be motivated, you can still be driven, but you can do it without crashing. So I've gone through this strategy. You can start doing these things right away. If you want to know a little bit more about how to achieve a good work-life balance, maybe that's what you're after here, then check out this video. It's about 10 minutes long. I'll see you over there.